In the quiet hush of a late autumn morning, under a sky the color of forgotten dreams, Ilara stood at the edge of a small cemetery in northern Vermont. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and fading leaves, a fitting backdrop for the hushed sorrow that cloaked a dozen or so mourners. Her grandmother, Maeve, had been the heart of their family, a storyteller, a healer, a constant presence. Now, with Maeve gone, Ilara felt a profound tremor, as if the very foundations of her world were shifting. Her older brother, Liam, a man of effortless charm and unwavering confidence, delivered the eulogy. His voice, usually so resonant, wavered slightly as he spoke of Maeve's resilience during challenging times, her quiet acts of kindness, her unwavering spirit. Yet, to Ilara, his words felt like a performance. Liam, who had rarely visited Maeve in her final years, now stood bathed in the soft glow of remembered love, a love he had barely nurtured. Ilara, on the other hand, had spent countless hours by Maeve's bedside, her hands intertwined with her grandmother's frail ones, sharing stories and quiet companionship. When it was her turn to speak, a lump formed in her throat, a dense knot of grief and unspoken frustrations. She simply shook her head, unable to articulate the storm raging within her. 2 days later, the sterile hum of a lawyer's office replaced the solemn quiet of the cemetery. The lawyer, a man with thin, precise lips and an air of detached professionalism, cleared his throat, adjusting his spectacles. Liam, across from Ilara, leaned back, a faint, self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips. Ilara kept her gaze fixed on the folder in the lawyer's hands. She held no illusions. Liam, always the favored one, the successful one, would undoubtedly inherit the lion's share. Ilara, a quiet librarian in a small, underfunded community library, felt like an afterthought. The lawyer began to read, his voice a monotonous drone. According to the last will and testament of Maeve Eleanor Vance, dated October 15, 2022, he droned on, detailing small bequests: a piece of antique jewelry to a distant cousin, a cherished quilt to a church friend. Then came the significant announcement. To my beloved grandson, Liam Michael Vance, I leave the property located at 712 Whisperwind Lane, including all its furnishings, fixtures, and attached structures. Liam's smirk blossomed into a full-blown grin. Excellent, he murmured, a note of triumph in his voice. Ilara felt a cold knot in her stomach. Then, the lawyer continued, his voice unwavering, and to my granddaughter, Ilara Jane Vance, I leave the house and land in the unincorporated settlement of Oakhaven, Vermont, including any and all outbuildings, records, and associated property. A beat of silence. Liam turned to Ilara, his eyebrows raised in surprise. Oakhaven, he repeated, the word laced with disdain. Ilara stared at the lawyer, a name from her childhood echoing in her mind. Oakhaven, a place of hazy, sun-drenched memories, the hum of cicadas, the scent of wild thyme. She hadn't been there since she was 8. Maeve had rarely spoken of it. That's it. Ilara finally managed. The lawyer nodded. Those are the primary assets. The will is clear. Liam leaned closer, a mocking glint in his eyes. Guess you get the haunted shack in the middle of nowhere, he chuckled. Hope you like dust bunnies in despair. The lawyer handed Ilara a thick manila envelope containing keys, a faded map, and legal documents. Her hand felt numb as she took them. Liam, already on his feet, stretched languidly. Well, this has been enlightening. Thanks, Mr. Hayes. He turned to Ilara, a final patronizing smile. Try not to let the wilderness reclaim you out there. I'm sure Grandma meant well. Sort of. He left, his smug laughter echoing in the small office. Ilara remained seated, the keys in her hand feeling strangely cold. That night, she returned to her small apartment, a place of peeling paint and the constant drip of a leaky faucet. A pink envelope lay tucked under her door, a notice of termination from the school district, a casualty of budget cuts. Her contract would not be renewed. She sank onto her worn sofa, the envelope with the keys slipping to the floor. The silence of the apartment stretched, amplifying her sudden desolation. Not only had she lost a grandmother, but her job, her last anchor, was gone, and her brother, her only remaining family, had dismissed her inheritance as a cruel joke. Over the next few days, her apartment grew darker, colder. Utility bills piled up, unanswered calls from concerned friends went to voicemail. A cousin texted, "Heard about the will. Sorry, girl. Grandma always had her reasons." Elara didn't reply. She lacked the energy to explain that she didn't care about the apartment, that she just wanted to understand why she had been given something that felt more like a burden than a blessing. She unearthed a box of old photographs Maeve had given her years ago. In one, a young Elara, her braids askew, sat on a porch swing, her feet dangling. Maeve sat beside her, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes distant. On the back, in fading ink, were the words, Oakhaven, Summer 98. The following morning, Elara packed a small duffel bag, retrieved a manila envelope, and called the bus station. She booked a one-way ticket to Oakhaven with no plan, no return date. The journey was long, a 6-hour Greyhound ride punctuated by 2 transfers, and a stop in a town that seemed to consist mostly of boarded-up windows. She watched the city fade into pine forest, then open fields, then just sky. It was late afternoon when she stepped off the bus into a sun-baked town square. No taxis, no welcoming signs, just cracked sidewalks, a post office that looked long abandoned, and a general store with a faded cash-only sign. She unfolded the map. The house was 3 miles up County Road 17, past an old mill and a church. No ride-sharing apps worked. No signal on her phone. She started walking. The road was hot and quiet, dust rising with every step. Trees leaned over gravel, their shadows long. Her legs ached, her thoughts raced. What would she find? A ruin? Had Maeve sent her here to test her or to exile her? Finally, after a long bend in the road and a stretch of rusting fence, she saw it. The house stood at the end of a long gravel drive, surrounded by an overgrown yard and flanked by what had once been a barn. Its paint had peeled away, exposing weathered gray wood. The windows were shut tight, one shutter hanging askew. Vines crawled up the side like grasping fingers. She stood at the gate, her breath catching. It wasn't beautiful, it wasn't welcoming, but it was hers. Elara stepped forward and unlocked the rusted gate. The hinges groaned in protest. The path was nearly swallowed by tall grass, weeds brushing against her legs. Her shoes sank slightly into the damp earth as she climbed the steps to the front porch. The boards groaned under her weight. She paused, her hand on the door. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. A breeze rustled through the trees, and the silence felt not empty, but expectant, as if the house itself was waiting. She turned the key and pushed the door open. The air inside was thick with dust and something ancient. Not decay, not mildew, but the scent of time itself. The foyer was dim, lit only by the meager sunlight filtering through grimy windows. A hallway stretched ahead, with doorways to the left and right. Cobwebs hung like tattered drapes. The wallpaper was faded and curling at the edges, but the structure was intact. No mold, no holes in the walls. Furniture lay draped in white sheets, as if someone had simply stepped out for a moment. She stepped further in, her footsteps muffled by old rugs.